The Giants played their first preseason game of 2023 on Friday night in the Motor City, and they fell to the Lions 21-16. New York Post Giants beat writer Paul Schwartz. He is back from Detroit to break it all down, and he joins me now. Paul, a very quick turnaround from you coming back from Detroit to New York, but I got to think you're happy to be back home.
5 fun-filled days and nights in the Detroit area, Dexter, Allen Park, and Detroit, Deerfield. I spent so much time in the state of Michigan, I could probably vote there if I spend another few days there. But you know what? It was not time wasted, because these joint practices, I think, are great. I know that I was there to cover a preseason game, but I think more importantly, I was there to cover joint practices Tuesday and Wednesday. It is really good stuff. It is great competition. That's when Daniel Jones and Saquon and the frontline guys are really out there, every day sweating. Lions definitely got the better of the Giants the first day. Giants came back and played much better in practice the second day. So while the preseason game is important, and we'll talk about that, those two joint practices are really the reason why I made this pretty extended road trip.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of the beat writers around teams in the NFL seem like they're getting a lot from the joint practice, just what you can tell from the team, maybe more than the preseason games, like you said. But we're going to talk about the preseason game. And Paul, Jason Pinnock, he's looking to lock down the starting strong safety position. He got an interception against the Lions. How impressed were you with what he did, and does he have an inside track on the starting gig?
Now, why are you bringing up Jason Pinnock? Is it something to do with his college or something like that? Is that a Pittsburgh connection with you or something?
Hey, look, man, anytime somebody goes to the great University of Pittsburgh, they're going to do great things. Jason Pinnock did something great last night, but, he's an important topic as somebody trying to make this team.
Another Panther.
I'm always proud to talk about another Panther. Always proud.
I'm sure. Just another Panther doing good things in the NFL. He joked his interception in that first series was kind of like a punt. Tamon Fox, the linebacker, hit Nate Sudfeld, the Lions' backup quarterback. Ball floated in the air, and Jason Pinnock just, caught it. It was a pretty easy interception, unlike a few weeks earlier where he had an outrageous one-handed interception in the end zone in practice, stepping in front of Darren Waller. That pretty much went viral. That video was really sensational, and it kind of put Jason Pinnock on the map a little bit. Look, at this time last year, Dexter, he was with the Jets. He was a fifth-round draft pick from Pittsburgh, as we have mentioned before. And it's pretty rare for a team to just cut a guy after training camp, who's a draft pick, but the Giants signed him the next day. He did a lot of special teams work. He's a good blitzer. And Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator, used him a little bit last year as a blitzer. This year, what I like best about him, Dexter, is they signed Bobby McCain, who's got a bunch of starts in the NFL under his belt. And it kind of looked like, well, they may be grooming McCain for that starting role opposite Xavier McKinney, the role that Julian Love held last year. And you know what Pinnock said last night? He said, I didn't look at it as any kind of a threat or anything. I looked at it as I could soak up more knowledge from the guy. Pinnock has the inside track to start, no question.
Yeah, on track to start, looking good. Got that INT in the first preseason game, so we'll see what happens there for the former Pitt Panther. Glad you brought that up about him. Cole Beasley, he is 34 years old. He is looking to make the squad as a receiver. Do you see him helping the G-Men in 2023? And what's the likelihood of him making the roster here, Paul?
I'm not sure yet. Look, he's looked good in practice. He looked good in the preseason game. Look, you're getting thrown to not by Daniel Jones, but by Tyrod Taylor a little bit, and then Tommy DeVito. He made a nice spin move on one short pass and turned it into a 18-yard gain. He is really small. When you see him up close, he is a really diminutive slot target. But he's been in the league a bunch of years. Joe Shane and Brian Dable know him well from their days together in Buffalo with the Bills. He caught like 82 passes, at least once with the Bills. He's retired twice from the NFL. As we said, he's 34. I would say Beasley, Jamison Crowder are certainly fighting for one spot. There's a lot of slot guys. I think that Sterling Shepard should be ready for the season. Wan'Dale Robinson, last year's second-round pick, is another small guy who works best out of the slot. So I'm not sure yet with Beasley, but let's see if he can maintain and endure. He got to camp very late. He hasn't played in a while. Let's see if he can stay healthy, stay out of the medical tents and things like that. But he certainly has a shot just based on his pedigree.
All right, so Beasley has a shot to make the roster. Obviously could be a valuable player. And last thing here, Paul, it's just one game. We saw mostly backups out there on Friday night against Detroit. The Giants defense did look impressive in the first half against the Lions. Do you think this team has a chance to make a leap defensively in 2023?
Well, most of the big guys, right? Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari, Leonard Williams, Xavier McKinney, they went out there Friday night against the Lions. So that is the heart and soul and guts of this Giants defense. So, I'm not sure how we can assess their defense as a whole, but we can assess the newcomers who played. Deonte Banks, first-round draft pick, I thought he looked good. He looked like he got beat by a step by Jamison Williams on a deep pass down the middle of the field, and it looked like Williams dropped it. And I actually asked Deonte Banks about that after the game. He said, "What do you mean I got beat deep?" He looked like confused, like, why are you asking me this? And, I checked the replay this morning, and he was maybe beaten by a step, but he got back, recovered, and with his one of his arms, he kind of ripped the ball out of Williams' arm. So that was a really good play. Trey Hawkins, another rookie cornerback, did some good things. We mentioned Pinnock, who's a younger defensive back. So, look, if those young guys, that's a lot of firepower, young guys, right? 24, 23, 21, young guys, Pinnock, Hawkins, Banks, if they can come in and play at a high level, and the Giants need them to because they're thin back there, then, I have a lot of confidence in the guys up front. And the big key with me is Azeez Ojulari. He played in 7 games last year. He was one of the leaders in the league in sacks per snaps last year. He just needs a lot more snaps. And if he's on the field for, let's say, 15 games, he could very easily, I could envision him having double-digit sacks. He's a natural get-the-quarterback guy. He just needs to stay on the field, and he could take this defense to a different level.
Well, Giants defense are going to try to get to a different level in 2023. We will see if they are able to do that as they continue through the preseason. Paul Schwartz did a great job covering the joint practices and the game out in Detroit. Sounds like Paul is looking forward to more joint practices in the preseason. Is that so, Paul?
Maybe in San Francisco next, or someplace a little more exotic. Maybe.
Okay. You want
I've had them in Cincinnati in my life, Detroit in my life. Now, of course, I wasn't the Jets, and I wasn't in Spartanburg, South Carolina for about a week. So I guess Detroit will do.
All right, it'll do. We got to get you in some better locations out in the Midwest. We'll see if we can make that happen. That is the great Paul Schwartz, New York Post Giants beat writer with all the great coverage. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Dex.